I'm going to tell you the story about why I got excited about Starlink, why I got Starlink, why I kept it for as long as I did, and why I'm ditching it now, but not getting rid of it all the way. Let's jump into it and I'll tell you the full details. So about 2 years ago, and for those of you who don't know us on the channel here, if you're new, we did part-time RVing. We did full-time, part-time, if that makes sense. Basically, most of the winter months we'd head down to the Vegas area, and during the summer we live at our home up here in Montana. It went great for a while, but being a content creator, being on the road can be a real issue. And if any of you have been to an RV park, you know that RV internet is a lie. So I was struggling, trying to use my cell phone hotspot, trying to figure out what we could do to solve the RV internet issue. And some neighbors of ours had just gotten Starlink and they were raving about it. And he said, hey, you're within range of our Wi-Fi. How about if I share it with you? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty much a data hog. So he's like, yeah, but you're going upstream. We're pulling downstream. Shouldn't be an issue. I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works, but we'll try it. It was marvelous. It was fantastic. It was faster than my home internet. It was a great thing. And I'm like, that's it. Next time we come down, before we come down next time, we're getting Starlink. And so I did, and up in Montana, I ordered the Starlink. The box came, super excited, got it all set up, got it out of the box, make sure it was all there. Didn't set it up yet because we were, I didn't want to set it up here, but they had since implemented the whole RV roaming kind of feature, because before it was the hack job where you get it, say, oh, I'm totally going to put this at my house, and then say, well, I moved to this zip code and this zip code and this zip code. And they caught on. So they changed the whole thing where like roaming is now this much, and they've since raised the price 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. I remember it was not nearly as expensive. I think it's about $150 now for roaming if you're in like the regional roaming, like the North America kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, well, we do this for a living, so and it's the best solution that we've seen. We're still going to go with it. And then they also did this thing then where they kind of penalized the roamers. You got secondary access. Locals got first access. You got secondary access. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'd only seen it on paper. I hadn't tried it. I'm like, I'm sure we can still get this to work. It was painful. It was so painful. But you know what it wasn't? It wasn't worse than my cell phone, but not by much. In fact, there were many times when it came to upstream that my cell phone service was faster. So what I would do often is I would do all my downloading, all my work on Starlink. And then when it came time to upload, I'd switch to my Wi-Fi hotspot on my cell phone. Well, back and forth, we came up to Montana for the summer, and our kids, we'd been homeschooling, and they said, hey, we want to try normal school for a year or so. So I'm like, all right, well, you know what? We set up base here, and I'm like, you know what I need? I need a full-time shop here in Montana. So I got a shop. I moved everything in. I'm like, I need internet at my shop. So what am I going to do? And I'm like, hey, I've got this Starlink. So I set up the Starlink, and I'm like, it can't be bad even as a secondary, mobile user here in Montana. Yes, it can be. And here's the proof of it. It was terrible. I mean, again, I was in the situation where downstream was okay. Not screaming fast, but it was okay. It was serviceable for my needs. The upstream, though, it could take 2 to 3 hours to upload a video at times. It was ridiculous, and it was really hindering my productivity. So what are you going to do? Well, I'm like, well, we're not going back and forth right now. And they just finally enabled it so you can switch from mobile to a permanent location. So I'm like, I'm going to switch to a permanent location. It's going to save me some money, and it's going to give me the faster access. So I switched to the permanent location. It was not noticeably faster. It just wasn't. Now I went on the phone with Starlink back and forth. Well, text messages first and all that kind of stuff. And they, oh, it's this, or you've got an obstruction for this. I'm like, there's no obstruction. There's nothing there. We went round and round and round. They tried to tell me some stuff, and I'm like, no, it's hard to hard to believe, but once long ago, I was actually a fairly competent network engineer type who taught like Cisco classes, CCNA kind of stuff. I wired networks throughout the United States and Canada. And I know what I'm usually know what I'm talking about, or at least have a clue what I'm talking about when it comes to networks. And I tried everything I tried everything I knew, could not get any kind of faster speeds. And finally, I just got frustrated. We got the new studio shop space here. We're just moving into it. I got my desk space moved in. It's really echoey. I apologize, but there's nothing else in here other than me and this desk. So until we get more stuff moved in, I've got some acoustic panels on the way. It is what it is. But that said, I'm not putting up with this anymore. So I reached out to our local Spectrum dealer and I said, I don't care, get it in here. We need it. So they came by today and they installed it. Now, here's the speeds running off my phone's hotspot. You can see there what the speed is. That's an acceptable speed, but that upstream speed is, well, it's not great, but it's not terrible, but it varies throughout the day and it's not really reliable. Well, let's see what happens when we try Spectrum. Now that's faster than I was. That's faster than, let me say this. It was faster than I was getting before, but not as fast as I was told, because they said I was going to get 600, I think it was 600 down, and I believe it was 35 up. So, that's not it. So let's try a couple other websites. Maybe, we'll try Spectrum's website. All right, let's see what they can do for us here. Downstream 380, 394, we're hitting 400, kind of around 400, dropping a little bit. This is odd because this is their own website, and usually a service provider's own speed test usually benefits them. But look at that upload, and honestly, 354 is way overkill for most things. That upstream is what I'm really looking for, and right there at 35, that makes me happy. But you know what? I'm not done. Let's check a few others just to see across the board who's really right. We'll go over to Fast Internet, see what they say. 4, 5, we hit 6. It's supposed to be 6, I think 660 or something like that. It's supposed to be 680 is what they're showing there. The upstream speed, let's see if they're going to show us an upstream speed. Wow. High 30s, mid 30s, that's good. I'm pretty happy with that one right there. I think anybody would be. And let's try one more just to be safe. We're over on T-Mobile's website. T-Mobile's definitely got to, negate this. Going to give it a negative because, they want to sell their own stuff, right? But we're looking, was it 1, 2, 3? We got 3. We're going to have 4. Will we get 5? 5 maybe? Oh, wow. Okay, so that's 552. And the upstream, we're in the 30s. That's 36, 37, 38. I gotta say, I'm pretty pumped about that. Well, there you go. That's some fast internet. And I'm looking forward to uploading this video. I cannot tell you how much. But that said, what am I going to do with my Starlink? Well, what I've done right now is I switched it back to a mobile service, to the roaming service, and then I paused it. You can't pause your home service on, but you can pause the mobile service. So I switched it right before billing. I was supposed to change billing in 2 days. I had to pay like $2 of difference. So I switched to mobile or roaming and I paused it and then I stowed it. And I'm going to pack the whole thing up and it's going to go back and it's going to live full time in our RV. Then if we go somewhere and we need it, great. If not, at least we have it. It's a nice backup to have in case other things happen. But for right now, we're going to be dealing with Spectrum. This is not in any way sponsored nor endorsed. We have Spectrum internet at home, and its reliability has been questionable. In fact, the other night, the new Percy Jackson episode came out. My daughter was thrilled to watch it. We all sat down right to watch it, and right as it showed up, 2.5 hour outage. We ended up hotspotting it off our phone and watching it anyway. But that is life in rural or semi-rural Montana. So now, to be fair, I know several people who still do have Starlink, but they're not. They're like I'm considered rural, but we're on the edge of town here in Livingston, Montana. I've got friends and people I know who are well outside, and they're still getting good service and great speed. Really, it's if there's any kind of congestion, and this is not a big town, 7,500 people. Apparently, this is enough to cause congestion for Starlink. But if you're out there in the boonies, it's still probably the right choice for you. Anyway, there you go. That's all we got for you today. If you got any questions about it, put it down in the comments. I'll try to answer any of the ones I can get to. You all take care. God bless. And as always, shine on.